If you have played more than 10 games of Marvel Rivals, there is a pretty high chance you've been a victim of a sweaty, solo leveling watching, G Fuel drinking, smurfing Black Panther. So, how do we counter his orange cat behaviors? For heroes to use against him, you're gonna need anti-dive. Loki is a Black Panther hard counter, as his invulnerability totem prevents Black Panther from doing any damage, which messes up his setups and his timing for resets and animation cancels. Heroes with on-demand CC abilities such as Luna Snow's Freeze, Mantis' Sleep, Captain America's Knockups, all make for great abilities that can stop a Black Panther in his tracks, which gives your team a small window of time to burst him back through the S-rank double dungeon gates he came out of. Heroes like Namor prove to be a solid solution to his diving antics due to his turrets auto-targeting him the second he decides to jump the backline heroes. However, if a Black Panther main somehow convinces his team to ban Namor and your team isn't willing to play heroes to counter him, well then all I gotta say is, good luck, Charlie. The itsy bitsy spider climbed up the water spout. Here are Peter Parker's counters to flush this annoying ass spider out. Spider-Man, like Black Panther, does not play well into Namor, as it's hard for him to jump people and pull off a successful one-shot combo when Namor's squids activate like a military SAM turret the moment he touches one of your supports. Heroes like Star-Lord are good into Spider-Man because his movement abilities make it harder for him to stick to you since you can duck, dodge, and weave all of his webs whenever he wants to get close to you. Mr. Fantastic also surprisingly does well into Peter Parker since his innate tankiness and damage-negating properties make it hard for Spider-Man to win a straight-up 1v1 against him. Not to mention, Reed can hip thrust his teammates getting dove by Spider-Man to give them extra shield to survive his burst, and it disrupts Spider-Man's combos in the middle of them going off as well. Spider-Man, like the Elo terrorist of Wakanda, is weak to on-demand CC abilities, so running Luna Snow, Mantis, and Penny for their anti-backline diver CC abilities is a very high IQ decision. How do you counter Hugh Jackman? Step 1, ban him. Step 2, if you are unable to complete Step 1, then Alt F4 dodge, because having teammates who are low IQ enough to allow this mutant to slip through ban phase are probably unintelligent hardstucks who are incapable of thinking past the end of their nose. And make no mistake, they will lose you the game due to their sheer incompetence. With that being said, the best way to deal with the X-Men's favorite short king is with hard CC and displacement abilities. Wolverine gets hard countered by heroes that can cancel his abilities and immediately stop him from kidnapping his victims. Sue Storm and Bucky both have CC abilities that can cancel his kidnap and force him off the targets that he has pinned down. Invisible Woman is actually Wolverine's biggest counter due to her vortex, as it causes him to stop flying and drop whoever he's carrying, and force physics can push or pull him off of whatever target he's attacking. Outside of those two, Wolvie's main strength is quickly bursting down tanks due to his percentage HP damage. Make sure to run brawlers that can go toe-to-toe with him in damage and sustainability, brawlers like Magic or Captain America. The quickest way to counter the Punisher in battle is to show him a picture of his family and tell him everything that went wrong in his life is his fault. The second quickest way to counter the Punisher in battle is to focus him with multiple heroes. Punisher is often slow and stationary due to his ultimate's move speed debuff and the fact that he's usually a sitting duck when he's on his turret all the time. So running dive can easily overwhelm him as he can't defend himself from multiple enemies that are attacking him at once. I also found Moon Knight to be a big threat to him, as his ricochet damage can hit him all the way in the backline, and when Moon Knight ults, Punisher can't cancel his turret quickly enough to get out of it without dying. Trying to counter Kokoshib, I mean Magic, is a lot simpler than you might believe. Dealing with Upper Demon Moon 1 is quite similar to dealing with other assassin characters in Marvel Rivals. She hates Namor turrets, she despises Loki's invulnerability shield, she's weak to on-demand CC from supports like Luna and Mantis, but the one big counter a lot of people aren't talking about is everyone's favorite noob trap of a hero, Penny Parker. Penny has several abilities that will make an emotionally unstable Magic main Alt F4 in the middle of a match. She has webs that can instantly lock her down the second she dives the backline, she can chip away through her shields with her continuous fire from her cannons, she can chase after her in Darkchild form with her ult speed boost, and most importantly, Penny Mines and her nest make it literally impossible for Magic to get through to any of her teammates. Stephen Grant hates flying heroes in Marvel Rivals. Why is he afraid of things in the sky? Well, he is in a toxic, manipulative, abusive relationship with Khonshu, so I wouldn't be looking up a lot in the sky if I were him either. However, flying heroes make Mark Spector's life hell because he is a projectile-based hero, and oftentimes it feels impossible to consistently hit flying characters in the sky with projectile fire that has long travel times. An Iron Man, Star-Lord, or Storm that have good movement discipline will be not only near unhittable, but since they are flying around in the sky, you can't use an Ankh on them to get get free damage off to burst them down. Jake Lockley also struggles into double shield tank comps. If the other team has any combo of Strange, Groot, or Magneto, Moon Knight is going to have a hard time spamming groups of enemies to get that sweet AoE ricochet bounce damage off between enemy players. Dollar Tree Aquaman is a pretty versatile hero. However, he has one big counter, and those are shield tanks. Strange, Magneto, and Groot all have big durable shields, and Namor, who mainly does his damage via turrets and throwing one spear at a time, cannot cut through those shields fast enough to bring them down on his own without help. This limits the amount of DPS he is able to put out at all times. Also, Namor's ultimate can be blocked if a shield tank is caught on the outside of the ultimate with their shield up. This will block the damage from hitting whoever else is standing behind the tank too. Oh, and Moon Knight's Crescent Blades will bounce off of Namor's turrets and spread damage to all those who are standing around them. Do with this information what you will. Hey Jarvis, who counters Tony Stark? When it comes to Iron Man, let's just talk about the elephant in the room for his counter. Iron Man cannot function against good hit scan heroes. Punisher, Hela, Black Widow, and Hawkeye are bigger ops to Tony Stark than the entirety of Team Captain America in the Civil War movie. Iron Man can become as good of a flyer as he wants to be, but a good Punisher player with elite tracking aim abilities is gonna beam you out of the sky faster than you can say Jarvis clipped that. So how do we counter the Human Torch outside of a water hose and women rejecting his flirting advances? The first and easiest option are hit scan heroes. Torch is a flyer, and their natural hard counter are hit scan DPS such as Hela, Punisher, and Star-Lord. Also, Spider-Man and Iron Fist have proven to be exceptional counters to him, since he flies slower than Iron Man, which allows them to catch up to him a lot easier. Next, Namor is a good counter to Human Torch. Let me tell you why. His turrets are hard for Torch to get rid of since he's flying so high in the sky. Iron Man can use his repulsor blast from far away to get rid of the squids, and Storm only needs a couple of wind slashes to get rid of them quickly. Johnny's pathetic shotgun blast of a primary fire has a very hard time trying to disable these turrets. Also, Namor can easily land spear headshots on him since Torch flies so slow. Mind you, they have no fall-off damage on them, so a well-placed headshot will make him go down faster than a Boeing jet fresh off the assembly line. Star-Lord's biggest counter isn't just Chris Pratt's assassination of the character's image, but it's also defensive support ultimates. Star-Lord's ult is powerful. However, the second Luna Snow, Cloak and Dagger, or Invisible Woman pops their ultimate, his ultimate is completely negated. Star-Lord's ultimate is a big part of his kit and why he's powerful, so completely taking away his biggest damage source and teamfight changing ability is honestly his biggest counter. Not to mention, characters like Magneto can use his ultimate to negate Star-Lord's and then throw it right back at him to kill him and add insult to injury. Ah, Hela, the upper demon moon of Season 0. What's Hela's biggest counter? Well, outside of Taika Waititi's borderline character assassination writing of her in the Thor Ragnarok movie, Hela is mainly countered by long-range one-shot heroes. Hawkeye, Black Widow, and ironically other Helas can easily counter her. Hela actually can deal with dive very well due to her stun and her bird that gives her multiple chances at life. So trying to jump her in a back alley on a dive DPS isn't always the best move if the Hela is good and can hit headshots consistently. So you gotta stand back a bit and use your aim on longer range characters to land critical headshots, so that way you can kill her before she runs away with her bird form. Truth be told, an Iron Fist counters himself depending on how smart or stupid the player is playing him. Iron Fist can be kited into oblivion, so if he blows his movement abilities trying to get in, you can easily CC him and hold him in place long enough to be bursted back into the Stone Age. If the Iron Fist is smart and manages his kick and jumps well, you're actually gonna need straight up peel from tanks such as Penny and Captain America to get him out of your backline. In fewer words, peel heroes and heroes with instant CC can ruin this Karate Kid's day. Like Hela, Black Widow is ironically countered by other Black Widows. Long-range poke heroes like Hawkeye, Hela, and Black Widow can deal with one easily. Black Widow has a limited field of view when she aims down sight with her sniper. As long as you're not in her line of sight, it's the perfect opportunity to pop her in the head while she can't retaliate against the long-range damage. Just like my uncle used to say in the Marine Corps, the only counter to a good sniper is an even better sniper. Psylocke, like other assassin dive DPS, is countered by Namor and on-demand CC as per usual. However, to get her out of her invisibility form and counter her, you need consistent damage from something like a Punisher, Star-Lord, Moon Knight, or even a Scarlet Witch to keep her revealed, so that way she can't escape as easily when she commits too hard to diving the backline. Psylocke is in trouble if she gets tagged by a Punisher turret or a Moon Knight Ankh, so play heroes with consistent damage and burst damage to traumatize her from trying to flank the backline. Storm, like Iron Man, is hard countered by hit scan DPS heroes and high-speed projectile heroes. I have found that Bucky is a great counter to her, as when you hit her with a hook, you can usually burst her down before she tries to use her wind form to run away and reposition. Hawkeye is a fantastic counter to her as well. He can easily one-tap headshot her with a well-placed arrow, and his sonic boom boom arrow can hinder her flying abilities long enough for him to take that old Yeller shot on her as well. How do we counter the AT&T girl, you might ask? I know, right? When I found out Squirrel Girl was played by her, I couldn't believe it myself either. Anyways, back to business. Squirrel Girl can do oppressive amounts of damage by simply holding left click and dragging her mouse across the screen. So what heroes can counter her? Similar to Moon Knight, running double shield tanks like Strange, Magneto, and Groot can work out very well. Their beefy shields can hold back a lot of her spam damage, and when used in conjunction, can actually shut out her damage for quite some time. Squirrel Girl is also not a fan of the triple healer meta, as the 3 supports can sustain everyone long enough to make sure that they don't accidentally get blown up by her abilities. Hawkeye, like the other sniper characters, are countered by even better snipers, so running another Hawkeye, Hela, or Black Widow is a solid Hawkeye counter. Also, his Crescent Slash ability has a relatively long cooldown standing at 15 seconds, so if you can bait it out of him, a coordinated attack with dive heroes can easily take him out, especially since he can only do damage to one enemy at a time. How do we channel our inner Doctor Doom so that way we can make Mr. Fantastic as useless as the Miles Teller version of Reed and not the comic book version of Reed? Well, first you have to understand that Mr. Fantastic loves playing into high burst damage heroes because his reflexive rubber can take your damage and use it against you. And he's relatively good against dive heroes because his ultimate is good self-peel and team peel, and also just because his big boy form can tank their damage and go toe-to-toe with them in the backline. So what type of character can make Reed's life a living hell? Flying characters. Star-Lord, Iron Man, Storm, and Johnny Storm can all work really well as poke characters against Mr. Fantastic. Reed can't reach them with his basic attacks as his arms only extend so far, so it's hard for him to close the gap on them. So pick a flying character and just poke him to death. You whittle down his HP and then the rest of your team can take him out. Countering Scarlet Witch is easy. Just show her that in another universe she has a normal life, 2 loving kids, and that Vision isn't dead, and it will cause her to go on a multiversal rampage of biblical proportions and crash out hard enough to generate enough material for an entire Doctor Strange move. The easiest way to counter her in this game is to straight up just run triple heals. Wanda's damage can easily be out-healed when you pocket one hero at a time. Running 3 supports, preferably Luna, Cloak, and Invisible Woman, or a Loki, can allow you to go pocket multiple DPS players and tanks simultaneously, which then greatly negates her damage, making her basically useless. Oh, and hit scan characters are the best heroes to tap her in the head when she starts charging up that long-ass ultimate. So if you aren't a member of Hydra, how do we counter Winter Soldier? Step 1. Watch the Captain America Civil War movie. Team Iron Man can show you how it's done. Step 2. Support ultimates are the easiest way to shut down a good Bucky. If you want to make a Bucky rage swap off the character, always have one support with a defensive ultimate ready to pop the second they hear that MF shout armed and dangerous like he's about to go Super Saiyan in a Dragon Ball Z fight. Step 3. Use multiple CC abilities to keep him locked up. Winter Soldier is weak to CC because it prevents him from chaining his abilities together, which then in turn does not allow him to successfully get his hook, pull, and push combo off onto enemies. Penny Parker is a great tank to play defense on a Bucky like she's a member of the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I'ma be so real, I'm not even trying to be funny. The easiest way to counter a Captain America is by simply running away. No hero in the game currently truly hard counters him, since his kit is mainly a collective abomination of CC, mobility, damage, and pure annoyance. So like no really, you truly counter him by simply running away. Best case scenario, he leaves you alone and disengages from the pursuit and runs off to find someone else to bother. Second best case scenario, he gives chase and runs after you like a dumb horror movie villain, and now the enemy team is virtually down a player and a tank since Uncle Sam is AFK chasing Singed around the map. In order to counter Doctor Strange, you have to understand that there are 2 things that a Doctor Strange main hates. Doctor Strange pet peeve number 1, being forced to put down his shield against his will. Doctor Strange pet peeve number 2, being forced to walk backwards and give up space against his will. To achieve this, play tanks like Groot, Hulk, and Venom. Groot can walk this man down by putting up walls behind him, all while poking his shield down and forcing him to give up space by respecting his walls. Hulk and Venom can jump over and behind him and force him to put his shield down and peel for his backline, or leave them to die and continue taking space. DPS like Wolverine, Magic, and Panther are great for getting behind him and forcing him to put down his shield to go fight them. All of the heroes I just mentioned do a combination of forcing Strange to put down his shield when he doesn't want to, or force him to walk backwards and give up space to either retreat for his own life, or force him to peel for his backline for the sake of his team. Penny Parker hates medium to long range heroes who can poke down her HP from a safe distance and destroy her nest from afar. This also ruins Penny's game plan, because if you can deal long range damage without having to brawl her in her spider nest range, then she can't use her primary ability damage source to its maximum potential, which makes her an even bigger wasted tank pick than she already is. Run heroes heroes like Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl, Hela, Punisher, Winter Soldier, Luna, and Loki to poke her down. That way you can catch her out of position and destroy her nest from a safe distance. Also, Penny players hate Groot since his wall can destroy her spider nest instantly. Okay, let's talk about Groot and the obvious counter first. The biggest hard counter matchup that currently exists in Marvel Rivals is Wolverine into Groot. Wolverine hard counters him since his percentage HP damage wrecks Groot with his large health pool. And when he kidnaps him, Groot is not only slow, but he has no movement abilities or natural escapes that allows him to disengage from fights quickly. So if Wolverine captures you, you're literally cooked. That is, unless someone rescues you or a support player pops their ultimate to prevent you from getting blown up like a California redwood tree caught in a wildfire. Outside of Wolverine though, Groot has limited range on his abilities, so use heroes like Hela, Hawkeye, and Winter Soldier. These heroes can poke him down outside of his basic attack range so that way Groot can't fight back. Not to mention, if Groot's walls are down and you land back-to-back headshots on him, it's gonna be timber for this intergalactic tree. So how do we counter the Thing? One of the biggest things you have to understand about the Thing is that his passive prevents him from being displaced. So that means a lot of CC abilities are rendered near useless against him. However, there are a few ways to beat him. The first is normal CC. Things like stuns, slows, freezes, and sleeps still work against him since it's crowd control that does not move or displace him. Second, Penny Parker is your friend against the Thing. He likes to charge in at full speed, and it's hard for him to turn around when he's gone in too far and he's got too much dip on his chip. The third way to deal with the Thing, and the most surefire way, is to just turn your attention to him and focus him down with all your team's damage. He may have built-in damage reduction in shields due to his kit, however, there is nothing he can do when a Punisher unloads his ultimate on his forehead. What counters the Master of Magnetism outside of an EMP and a Charles Xavier speech pleading with him not to start World War III? Melee damage and high burst damage. Similar to Groot, Wolverine and Winter Soldier make Magneto's life hell, since they can both use abilities to kidnap him and force him to get bursted down by your team in a quick flash. Magneto is defenseless when his shield and bubble are on cooldown, so play patiently and wait for him to use both of his abilities, and then you can pounce on him immediately. This man is slow, and he has no built-in escape abilities. The second your team starts to focus him, his little tin can bodysuit is gonna get crushed harder than the Titan submersible at the bottom of the ocean. I'ma be frank, if you let a Hulk get through the ban phase knowing damn well how strongly he empowers a good Doctor Strange and Iron Man player, you deserve whatever pain and suffering you endure in that game, full stop. Hulk struggles against big tank busting damage dealers like Bucky, Hawkeye, Winter Soldier, and Punisher with his shotgun out. Hulk's hitbox is huge, so it takes little effort for these heroes to focus him down with relative ease. And his head hitbox is so huge, if you manage to headshot him a couple of times, you can burst him down before his jump is off cooldown again. Bruce Banner also struggles against stuns as it instantly cancels his jump ability even if you hit him with CC mid-air. So running a tank like Penny can actually prevent Hulks from jumping over the tanks into the backline for his dive attempts. Thor, like Captain America, can be kited around the map if you pick a hero that can keep their distance and still deal damage to them, like Star-Lord, Punisher, Bucky, and Psylocke. Not to mention, he has no mobility when his abilities are on cooldown. Also, all of his movement abilities except his ultimate can be cancelled by CC, and he struggles against tank buster damage since he has such a large-ass hitbox and he's just slow. Just pick a hero that can make sure that he can't close the gap on them. Outside of being countered by red symbiotes and Sony Studios' shitty movie adaptations, Venom isn't hard to counter as long as you don't panic when he inevitably dive bombs you at an inopportune time. Venom is a walking ult charge battery when his swing is on cooldown, so after he jumps in, use tank busting damage like Punisher shotgun or turret, Bucky combo, Moon Knight ult, or Psylocke burst to cut through him before he has a chance to swing out. Bonus points if you run a tank like Penny or Hulk that can stun him and prevent him from swinging away the second his Venom swing is off cooldown. How do you counter Adam Warlock, you might ask? Bucky, just Bucky. Don't even bother with anything else. Adam Warlock has a soul bond and high headshot damage for fighting players. Most heroes will get rocked by him in a 1v1 if the Adam Warlock player has good aim. So just play Bucky, hook him in, and burst him down before he can pick off targets. Do your best to keep tabs on him and track him, because the second you hear his ult go off, pop your ult as Bucky and get the fattest 6-man ultimate alive. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard to counter a good cloak and dagger because of how many tools they both have to either escape or stay alive. First, and most importantly, Magneto and Iron Man ultimates both hard counter Cloak and Dagger because of their high burst damage. Something to note is that Cloak's ultimate does not overheal, so if you can deal one high instance of burst damage such as Magneto or Iron Man ultimate, you'll kill them instantly every single time. Hawkeye surprisingly is a good Cloak and Dagger counter too. You can headshot her out of her ultimate if you hit a fully charged arrow headshot. Countering Invisible Woman is harder than one might think. She has several abilities that allow her to self-peel, such as her push and pull, her double jump, her Vortex, which traps enemies inside, and if all else fails, she has a defensive healing ultimate. The best heroes you could possibly use to counter her are brawler heroes that can continuously chase her and stick to her no matter what self-peel she uses. Heroes like Magic, Iron Fist, and Captain America all have good sticking potential since they can chase her down continuously and they can withstand the initial CC abilities that she might throw at them. The easiest way to counter Jeff is straight up having barrier tanks and high mobility heroes on your team. Jeff straight up doesn't have good enough DPS to cut through shield tanks, and those beefy shields prevents him from healing teammates that are far in front of him as well. Also, barriers like Hulk Bubble and Magneto Bubble can prevent your teammates from getting swallowed in his ultimate, which is another counter to him. Realistically, any hero that has high mobility or they possess an ability that allows you to dodge Jeff's ultimate is an easy way to counter him, as you can neutralize his most powerful and effective offensive ability with the press of a button. The best way to counter Loki is to get rid of his clones quickly. That way he can't output mass healing for a team or switch between his clones for safety. This also reduces the surface area of his invulnerability field, as he can only use it on himself and won't have active clones to spread it around the field for his teammates. Heroes that deal mass AoE damage quickly like Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl, Iron Man, and Punisher are great counters to him, since they can get rid of his clones quickly and easy without having to divert too much of their attention away from the objective. Luna Snow, like Cloak and Dagger and Invisible Woman, can be one shot out of her ultimate with a high instance of burst damage. So Iron Man, Magneto, and Moon Knight all have high damage ultimates that can burst through her high healing when her ultimate is active, which in turn makes them great counters to her. Not to mention, Luna Snow cannot out-heal overwhelming instances of DPS, especially if they are hitting headshots. A great instance of this is a combined effort of a Punisher ultimate and a Hawkeye or a Black Widow ultimate together. They can do enough damage to cut through Luna's ultimate if you are hitting her in the head. Mantis, just like the other healers, is countered by Iron Man, Magneto, and Moon Knight, as they can all mess her up even when her ultimate is active. Play high damage burst heroes that can cut through her like a hot knife through butter and you won't have any problems with her. Also, she is strong against dive assassins due to her sleep ability, so try to avoid singling her out when you go diving. She also is really weak against multiple shield tanks, since her semi-auto fire mode doesn't allow her to cut through shield tank barriers very quickly. The best way to counter Rocket is to shame the other player for picking them by calling them boosted and hard stuck in all chat. The second best way to counter Rocket is high burst damage. This guy is slippery, as his kit gives him instant dashes and he can run up along walls to escape dive heroes. So bursting him out with high damage from snipers in the distance is the best way to clean these Rocket main scum off the field. Also, shield heroes like Magneto can absorb his healing orbs, which hurts his healing output on game modes like Domination, where his teammates won't always be directly in front of him and easy to heal.